Hit this guy. So I'm trying to decide where I'm going to start today. I'm trying to decide where.
Yeah, that's like a delayed echo too.
That was weird too. All
That's
right,
really weird.
Okay, live stuff.
There we go.
this
Let's start
is-
with that, huh?
Start with that. Hey,
Yeah.
welcome back, Bert. I'm so happy that you're here. Shout out to Peyton Doyle and Justin and Dwayne or Marcus, whatever one you know him as.
Dwayne Marcus.
Dwayne Marcus. He's from the Upside Down.
Mhm.
And JT from JT and the Don, and Steezy A. Smith for filling in for Bert last week. We had a spirited conversation about everything in sports. It was a great show. So shout out to them. But Bert, man, how was your trip to jolly old England or London or where were you at?
It was good. Yeah, I was in London for work, and for the whole week it was great. First time in London. Lovely city. Great people. Food was food. Nothing to write home about, but dude, it was good. Super happy to be back though. Be back in the dirty jers, as we call it, and definitely excited to be here tonight. We were texting before the show, and I'm like, I don't know if it's the holiday week or what, but it's been so just, you want to talk about being in the upside down. I'm just so lost. Just unlike normal. And it feels like it's only been, I guess, 2 weeks to the day, but it feels like I haven't done the show in like 3 months. That's how crazy things have been. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're back. And it's amazing that you've been gone for. It does feel like you haven't done the show in a while, even though it's only been like 2 weeks. But that's how much you mean to the brand, buddy. And I'm glad you're here. Somebody who's not here is Baker Mayfield. He's heading to Carolina, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about NFC West. And we're going to talk about that fraud. Freddie Fraudman or Freddie Freeman.
I like Freddie Freeman better. Yeah.
Freddie Freeman. There he is. Freddie Freeman. And is Salmon over, under, properly rated? Find out next.
Sports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports. I'm Jerm, and that's Bert, and we're back. Better than ever. Shout out to everybody who has been supporting us on our Instagram and our socials. You can hashtag Stuff About Sports in your Googles and find us everywhere where you find your podcast, on Instagram and Facebook. It has now dawned on me, Bert. I'm fresh out of Facebook jail because I raised the question that it's okay for 12-year-olds to come out as trans and gay, which is cool. But when I was 12 and I wanted to be a Crip, they wanted to stop me and send me to DARE programs and scared straight. And I don't think that's fair. And I posed that question on Facebook. And of course, Zuckerberg, who has an agenda against me and this podcast network, put me in Facebook jail for 7 days, which was cool. I did my 7-day bid. That's baby time for your boy. I'm used to 30-day bids.
I'm actually shocked that you weren't kicked with your record. I mean, we're looking at like triple X here. Like this is bad.
It's bad. Now, but what he's done to me now, which is crazy. I am not allowed to create live videos for 22 days, apparently, which I did not know until just now when I tried to go live on Facebook here. So we are only live on YouTube. Sorry about that for all the Facebook people. It doesn't matter. YouTube is where we get most of our viewership. So shout out to our viewership on YouTube. So yeah. Zuckerberg, jerk ass. Big news of the day, Bert. Baker Mayfield,
yes, sir,
traded finally
Jeez.
to those Carolina Panthers.
Not only was he traded to the Panthers, they got what, a 2023 or 24 conditional pick,
2024 5th round pick or something like that.
Yeah, and Cleveland's paying $10.4 million of his salary.
Yeah. So that's win-win for Carolina, who I think they've always been the front runners for Baker Mayfield. It was reported that they even requested a trade all the way back in March. Now, the way this is laid out, that they split the finances, that Carolina's only paying like $3 million of this contract, and then they're giving up that meaningless 5th round pick. Now there's incentives involved where that equals out to whatever, because I think he had an $18.5 million contract, and I think that's why a lot of teams, Jimmy Garoppolo's situation is a little different, but the same reason why teams aren't running out to pay these guys, paying a quarterback 18 million, Jimmy Garoppolo's case 24 million. That's a lot for a year, for a year rental. And so Baker Mayfield, the fact that the Browns and the Carolina Panthers are work this deal out is kind of amazing. What are your thoughts about this whole Baker situation?
I mean, we loosely spoke about Baker and where he could potentially end up, and the Panthers were high on our list because that's where he can make the most impact. And honestly, I think it was smart by the Panthers. Like, now they have a serviceable quarterback. If he is not the starting quarterback, then something is seriously, seriously wrong with that whole organization. Sam Darnold should just accept his spot as a backup if he even gets that. But no, that this is great for Carolina. They have so much more potential now that they actually have a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, the cherry on top is that the Browns and the Panthers play each other in Week 1 on September 11th, which is fantastic. I believe it's in Carolina, though. I wish it was in Cleveland, but so Jacoby Brissett's probably going to be the solution for Cleveland, because I think we both are. I think last week's show we had all the guys on there. We kind of predicted how many games Deshaun Watson would get, and I think it was pretty much consensus he was going to get the entire year. I actually said he's going to get 2 years, but they're going to give him that year as time served. So on paper, it'll look like he served a 2-year suspension, which is total BS. But we are talking about the NFL here. Good for Baker. Yeah, the fact that the Carolina has done this move and has been trying to do this move since March tells me that they've seen all they needed to see from Baker, from Sam Darnold. He's not good. You know what I mean? So now you're having an offense that has Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Baker Mayfield in it. I mean, that's I would like that. That seems a little bit more threatening than what they had with Sam Darnold. So shout out to the Carolina Panthers for, I get that they're still paying a bunch of quarterbacks. I think that was the holdup before too. I think Teddy Bridgewater finally came off of their books. I do believe they owe Cam Newton for this year, and then the monster money they gave to Sam Darnold also, I guess, would play a fact into it. But you get somebody in Baker Mayfield who's a winner. I mean, he's first winning quarterback for Cleveland, and God knows how long. You know what I mean? They went through like 20 something quarterbacks before he got there, and he gets them to the playoffs. And this is how they repay him. It's crazy. It's a crazy.
I mean, it's an easy comparison between the two because they were both from the 2018 draft, between him and Sam Darnold. And like when you're looking at them, it's just like, dude, this honestly no comparison. Baker's just a better quarterback all around.
Yep.
I'm looking at trying to find his overall record. Is he really only 17-33, Sam Darnold? That would make sense.
All those Jets years, right?
Baker is just about 500. He's 29-30. So yeah, those Jets years definitely did him in. But honestly,
but Baker also has playoff appearances, and Sam Darnold, doesn't have that. So
I mean, but that's, to me, that's a testament. Now, granted, it was the Jets. I mean, say what you want, but like, if you're a good quarterback, you'll make it happen. So there's really no excuse. It's going to be Baker, and hopefully he flourishes there, man. And hopefully he starts game 1 and absolutely trounces his own team. And I want him to walk off the field and not like dap up anybody, coaching staff, nothing. I want him just walking off in victory, just basically flipping them off and calling it a day.
Oh my God. I want him to destroy the Browns. I want him to come out in a flip. Yeah, you're right. Flip every. Remember he planted the flag in the Oklahoma game. Do that. Do more of that. I want that. And of course, the Browns will be trotting out in Week 1. They're going to debut their new. So how all the teams play their like hype music when they come out of the tunnel, and it gets everybody riled up. We have a quick Stuff About Sports exclusive has a quick snippet of their new theme song for the 2022 season. That's it. Just a quick, 5-second clip. There's more to come for the Cleveland Browns, who, yes, guys, Jacoby checks the notes. Jacoby Brissett will most likely be their starting quarterback, because Deshaun Watson is probably going to be suspended for being a dirty, naughty butt guy. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Bert, I want to talk about this guy, Freddie Freeman. It's fraud.
Freddie Freeman.
You were in London, so I don't know if you're abreast of this information. But
Not all of it. Yeah.
This guy Freddie Freeman, the Atlanta Braves, great. They won the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray! Round of applause. Great, good for you, Freddie. Gets all emotional and becomes a free agent. Signs with the Dodgers, and then he comes back to the Brave series, teary-eyed, standing at the podium like, "Oh, guys, I need a minute. Oh, this is too much." Preemptive strike, crocodile tears, I tell you. Crocodile tears. Bert, let me ask you a question. Where did Freddie Freeman grow up? Where's he from? Don't worry, I'll tell you. He's from LA.
Okay.
What was his favorite? That was his favorite team growing up. That was the team he rooted for.
Mm-hmm.
LA Dodgers. Okay. The simple truth of this is that Freddie Freeman became a free agent and he signed with the team that gave him the most money, which is the Dodgers. Now, here's where it gets a little shaky. Information came out at a dinner of all places that Freddie Freeman's agent withheld a final offer from the Atlanta Braves, which somebody close to the situation would have said Freddie Freeman would have taken his deal. Baloney, Bert. Baloney. Hogwash, I say. Let me give you a quick timeline of Freddie Freeman. Atlanta offers him a 5-year contract, during the year. 5-year, $135 million. Okay. Then they raise it. They raise it after the lockout to another 5 years. So $140 million, right? Then on March 12th, Atlanta was given a 1-hour deadline to accept a 6-year, $175 million contract or a 5-year, $165 million contract. They didn't meet that deadline. And if you can look this up, I need to know the details of his LA Dodger contract. If you want to look that up for me, I don't know exactly what he signed for. But then what does Atlanta do after a little while? Trades for Matt Olson. And then all of a sudden, Freddie Freeman signs the LA Dodgers.
6 years, $162 million.
So less money, right? Less money than what was
not much. Would you say it was 6 years, 164?
It was 6 years. Apparently, it was 6 years, 175, or 5 years, 165.
Oh, Jesus.
So then apparently there was a final offer that was not disclosed to him. Okay. And then on March 17th, and that happened on March 12th. March 17th, he signs with LA. Freddie Freeman, you just wanted to play in LA and you didn't want to get booed. You know what happened? You wanted your money and then you also wanted to be beloved. And you knew that people in Atlanta would boo you. So what did you do? Preemptively, you go on a press conference and start crying about what's going on. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, my agent lied about it, and I would have taken the Atlanta deal. You let that leak out. You didn't say that directly, but you let that leak out. Baloney. Okay, those are what we call crocodile tears. This fraud. That was for the benefit of all the Braves fans out there because he didn't want to get booed. And you know what should happen, Bert? The Dodgers fans should now boo him. He clearly doesn't want to be there because he's like, oh, I don't. He's acting. He's sitting on the bench while the team's celebrating. He's not being part of it. He's really selling this thing. And I don't know. He's just being a baby, and he should be universally hated now.
It's a weird situation. I'm looking at some of the details now, right? So, it's weird of him to sit out and act sulky. Like, look, man, you made the decision. Whether the information was brought to you or not, that's fine. But guess what? You're still under contract. You still have a game to play. You're playing for your hometown team that you grew up rooting for. You're getting paid $165 million for 6 years. Let's go, Freddie. Like, put a fucking smile on your face. Let me see those big ass teeth and call it a day. So, other than that, like, if this is true and his agents withheld this information of a final offer, obviously there's some more to uncover with this. And I get being upset about it, but I also kind of have a hard time believing it. Now, he is selling it hard, as you said, because he fired his agents through the Players Association. According to the ESPN article I just skimmed. So, I mean, look, if you're willing to get rid of an entire agency that's representing you, like, this honestly did happen, or you're selling it hard to not make yourself look terrible. Here's what I can't figure out. I understand you started your career with Atlanta. You really came into your own. You brought them a World Series. Why are you being such a bitch about it?
Yeah.
Like, if you felt that way, why did you chase the money? Why didn't you just want to stay with Atlanta, who was giving you a good offer to begin with? This is what I'll never understand. Like, look, if you're good at what you want to do, you want to get paid for it. But if you're that attached to a city and you want to keep playing there, if you want to do things like cry to press conference because there was a last offer you weren't told about that would have made you stay or whatever, like, why didn't you take the first two offers that were pretty reasonable
Mhm.
and just stay anyways? Because you love the city so much. Like, look, I see both sides. Get paid what you're worth, but you can't come back and be like, oh, I wanted to stay here if the money was right. Like, that to me is kind of fucked up. Like, I didn't know about this last offer. If it was a little bit more than what you originally, I would have definitely stayed here. If anything, Braves fans shouldn't necessarily hate Freddie. If they believe him, they should hate the agency that represented him because they basically just got screwed. LA fans, I don't really know what they should think at this point. I mean, honestly, they're probably just like, "Aren't you happy playing for us? Like you grew up here, you rooted for us. Like, aren't you happy playing for this team?" And if he doesn't turn it around, then I mean, I don't know. This is honestly the weirdest thing in the world to me. But at the end of the day, grow up, quit being a little
Yeah.
bitch about it, and play
Yep.
baseball. You're getting paid $165 million for
Yeah.
6 years to play a game. A game. And granted, I'll give you, it's somewhat taxing on the body, not as taxing as any of the other professional sports out there. Like let's be honest here. You play the most games out of any other sport, but it is not by any means as physical as football, hockey, dare I even say basketball too, to a certain extent. But it's a game. It's a game that children play, and you're getting paid that much money. So you know what? Shut up and play. Plain and simple.
Dog and pony show. You know what? Freeman has now taken the mantle of the biggest fraud in sports away from JJ Watt. That's a big from me. Yes. Hold on, Bert. I said that the biggest fraud in sports is no longer JJ Watt.
Now,
It's
I'm not
from,
going to sit here and talk shit about JJ Watt.
what'd you say?
I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about JJ Watt, not in the least bit. But
Listen, man,
we've been over that before.
I don't care about that Instagram picture, all those little popcorn muscles. It doesn't help you. You're hurt all the damn time. Get out of here. Inject those horse steroids somewhere else. Nobody's impressed. Impressed JJ Watt. I don't care about that. Anybody can take an Instagram picture with baby oil on. Let me get out there and let me put away this keg and get the 6-pack back.
Everybody's going to start following Jerm to see if he puts baby oil on and starts taking Instagram pictures. I don't know. I actually won't let that happen. Your wife won't let that happen at all.
No, not at all. You don't want to see it right now. I'm in off season, but yeah, it's the off season. So, speaking of off season, we are quickly approaching NFL. I can smell it. I can smell the grass. I can't wait for the preseason to start. I can't wait for the regular season to start. And as we start counting down these weeks and counting down the weeks, we are now onto the NFC West, Bert, where maybe 3 teams can get in. But now that I looked at it and did the research, probably not this year. They were the best. They were probably the best division of football last year for a good stretch. This year, probably not. So as we get to it, who do you think will be the best team in the NFC West this year?
The Rams.
Right.
I mean, look, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And until someone comes in and knocks the Rams off from this division, it's going to be them. But on paper, looking at everybody else, no one has a more planted offense with a quarterback who has now done it and won it all, experienced receivers, and on the defensive end, you have Aaron Donald and everything else. I can't say the Cards are going to give them a run for their money. I sure as shit can't say Seattle, as they go through a huge identity crisis this year after missing Russ. And then don't even get me started on San Francisco, who, I mean, we're going to talk about if Jimmy Garoppolo is even going to be the starter. And what he's proven the past 2 seasons is you can't stay healthy enough to even give that team a shot. So it's going to be the Rams.
Yeah, I wanted to come on this show today and hate on the Rams, be like, yeah, you know, they got mad competition, Super Bowl slump. That usually happens. But the more I think about it, the more I look at it, the Rams are the only team that kind of upgraded and everybody else downgraded. I'm going to assume OBJ will re-sign with the Rams. Seattle, like you said, clearly in rebuild mode. San Fran just downgraded at quarterback because they're talking about starting Trey Lance, and
that's wild to me.
Insane. And then DeAndre Hopkins is out for the first 6 games because of steroid use, or PED use, I should say. So that's not a great not a great look. And then the drama surrounding Kyler Murray. And so, yeah, it has to be the LA Rams having to be the best team right now in the NFC West. But speaking of Kyler Murray, a lot of drama. And a lot of it has to do with him making a $5.5 million this year, as you know, his contract dictates. He's eligible for an extension right now. He wants one. He's he's doing the cryptic, you know, deleting the team stuff from Instagram, all that nonsense that the young kids are doing, the kids on the internet are doing. But the question I'm posing to you is, should Kyler Murray get the extension that he wants, which is somewhere north of $40 million a year?
I mean, I don't think he's worth it. You can't. Here's the thing. I guess if this were, what was it, 2 years ago, where the Cards were actually in a competitive position, then I would say yes. But what have they done? Has he like I'm looking at his record now, 2026. I mean, not terrible numbers, but to the same point, you're out. I mean, you're not making the postseason, and when you are, you're out first round. So it's like, what have you done to warrant this extension? And if that's the case, if you want the extension, the Cardinals as an organization have to sit there and be like, is this our guy? And I'm not so sure he is. And I think we go through this back and forth every single year in the offseason as we take a long look at Kyler and we're like, is he worth it? And is he worth it now? I don't think there was anybody that entered the NFL. And now that Baker's over with Carolina, I don't think there's any other serviceable quarterbacks that they could actually use. So, I mean, by default, he might get it. I don't know what next year's quarterback class looks like. But, I mean, that would have to be the Cardinals pushing reset and just having to rebuild with the new quarterback. So, I think by default, he might get that extension and they might roll with him. Plain and simple.
Yeah. This was an easy no for me, dog. Let's take a list of the $40 million quarterbacks this season. Aaron Rodgers. Is Kyler Murray better than Aaron Rodgers? No.
I mean, but we were also shocked that Aaron Rodgers got that contract.
Okay, but also Aaron Rodgers also has delivered a Super Bowl and has been arguably the best quarterback of this generation. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, like, wow, he got $50 million this year, but Aaron Rodgers is still worth every bit of $40 million, which is what Kyler's asking for, or whatever the market dictates, because that's what Derek Carr's extension was, or somewhere near that. Like, you know, Deshaun Watson, again, kind of like Aaron Rodgers, but we can put the personal stuff aside. Deshaun Watson as a football player, as a quarterback, is probably a $40 million a year quarterback. He's great. That's why he's in the situation that he is now. People are overlooking 24 sexual assault allegations because he's great. He did great with the Texans and they did nothing for him, but he has shown on the field he is worth every penny of that. But at the height of their powers, do I think Kyler Murray is better than Deshaun Watson? No. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then now we get interesting. Is Kyler Murray better than Dak Prescott? Probably not. Dak Prescott has been, I know we like to rag on the Cowboys a lot. Dak Prescott has been damn good. He's been really good. He's been a top 5 quarterback statistically when he's healthy pretty much every year he's played, and he had an amazing last year, like amazing. It's just they're the Cowboys and they always falter, and that's just the way, you know. But in terms of skills, Kyler Murray's not better than Dak Prescott, and Matt Stafford, who is right there at $40 million, just won the Super Bowl. So, and people are already putting him in the Hall of Fame even before he got there in lowly Detroit. Yeah. And so, is Kyler Murray better than Matt Stafford? I don't know. That's the closest comp I have, but I think I would take the Super Bowl winning quarterback over the guy who hasn't thrown over 4,000 yards yet in a season. And you're telling me that you want $40 million a year for what?
Man, he came close, dude. He came in 2020. He came like 29 yards shy of 4,000. But I understand what you're getting at for sure.
Listen, Bert, you know the catchphrase of the show, or you know the theme of the show. We are in the results business. We are not in the excuse making business. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You've had a potent running game. You've had a good defense. There's no need for you to not be throwing 4,000 yards in a season. If you want to be paid like a top quarterback, guess what all those other quarterbacks have done that I listed that are making $40 million a year? They've all thrown for 4,000 yards.
I mean, to be worth that much money after only 3 years in the league and not producing even a sniff of a Super Bowl, like that to me is wild to ask for that and not like that. Like your sample size, we've been saying on the show for years, was 3-year sample size, and he has it. But when you compare him to everybody you just listed, like that to me is enough to say, like, no, like it's not, it shouldn't happen is what I'll say.
and they'll probably, and we should have prefaced this. They probably will do it because he is their friend. They've been awful, and but here's a cautionary tale. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff,
Yeah.
gotten these big extensions 3-4 years in, and then what? You know what I mean? Like, so be like that, and he's trending more towards that than I would say towards the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomeses. I would say Kyler Murray's closer to Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. There's already questions about his leadership. There's already info coming out from the Cardinals organization saying that he sucks as a leader. A lot of the players don't even like him. He's doing the crazy shit on Instagram, and like, that's not a good look, man. It's not a good look. And $40 million a year is a lot. And like I said, the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens, and these are just players in his conference. Like, you can forget about the Matt Staffords and the Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about the people that are in his kind of, class picture. He's like, where does he go? I mean, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I would say Justin Herbert's better than him. I know Justin Herbert has a little bit of that injury prone or not showing up and not being reliable in big games. But
Yeah.
I think at the height of their powers, I would take Justin Herbert over him.
1,000%. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, when Lamar Jackson's healthy, I would take Lamar Jackson over. So Kyler Murray, you're not even a top 5 quarterback in your youth class, let alone in the NFL. So yeah, pump the brakes. If I'm the Cardinals, actually, if I'm Kyler Murray, play out the rest of your contract, earn it, earn this big money this year and next year, earn that, and then you can get even a bigger payday. You could be in that. You could be the first guy, $50 million, $60 million quarterback, if that's the way you want to play it. But to sit there and act like you've earned I get you're making 5.5, but guess what, man? You were drafted 3 years ago. That's how it goes. Like, that's literally how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you have a run like Josh Allen, then we could talk. Then you could, like, Josh Allen just earned his money. He earned his money by progressively getting better every year and taking his team deeper in the playoffs and having electric, historic breaking games. And you haven't done that. So,
I mean, if he's smart, he'd look for an extension that's actually reasonable for the results he's put out, right? Because if he plays out his contract, there's a risk that he gets injured and then it's lights out for him and his big money that he wants. So I understand, like, shooting for the stars, but I mean, maybe it's all a ploy to, like, have Arizona just come with a reasonable offer that he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take the money, while I still know that I can remain healthy. Another thing is too, I mean, look, like you said it before, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be facing a suspension. So if he's going to play out his contract, his numbers could be affected by that, and he might know it. And he might be like, look, even if I play the best football I've ever played, it's still not going to be as good because I'm missing one of my most formidable weapons. So, I mean, I don't know, man. If he plays this smart, and I'm sure his agent is very smart, hopefully he'll get something. But if he decides to play it out and go big, man, fingers crossed he doesn't get hurt or just suffer completely, because he's gonna pay for it.
Yeah. Sorry, Kyler. Immature, small quarterbacks who tail off at the end of seasons and are also injury prone. No matter how immensely talented you may be, don't actually garner big contracts. So you probably want to just shut your mouth, play ball, and figure it out, because you guys have a lot bigger problems. Cliff Kingsbury can't coach a second half of a season to save his life. He's done that all the way back in college. And like I said, your wide receivers are taking steroids, and you're out here pouting about a contract that you signed, that what you and everybody else gets. So just play ball and move on. Up to Seattle, we're not going to spend too much time on them. They got. We thought Baker Mayfield might have been the guy. I don't think they're going to pull for a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. So as it stands right now, Jimmy Garoppolo can't be traded. We'll get to him in a second, but that would be interesting, him in Seattle. But they're stuck with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock, but so for Seattle, Drew Lock, who would you, if you were a Seattle fan, let's pretend we're Seattle fans. We get that the options aren't great.
Yeah.
Outset. But who would you be rooting for if you were a Seattle fan?
To get the starting gig, I'd probably root for Geno Smith, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Does that have to do with the familiarization of the system, or because statistically he was okay, but he's 32 years old. So
yeah, I mean, I think regardless, I mean, look, he had his terrible start with the Jets, but everybody does. And then just being in the NFL certainly helps. I honestly think he's somewhat of a better quarterback all around. And certainly his mobility outside the pocket helps too. I haven't seen enough of Drew Lock to say like, all right, he can be as consistent as Geno can, but I mean, the lesser of two evils for me is Geno Smith.
So I initially had Geno Smith down for a lot of the reasons you said, and I quickly switched to Drew Lock as I did more research. Drew Lock has talent. I've watched some Drew Lock highlights. I don't know what it would take. I don't know what went wrong specifically in Denver, but it could have been the play calling. The coaching wasn't great. They fired the coach. They got a new one, and here we are. But for me, the case for Drew Lock is actually pretty simple. There's no way that this organization can view Geno Smith as the quarterback of the future because of his age. He is 32, which is old in football life, right? But he hasn't had any type of positive record. He's been there. If they were that confident in him, they wouldn't have traded him, traded for a quarterback. I get that they were trying to unload Russell Wilson, but you don't think Russell Wilson could have got a better deal elsewhere, better trade package? They chose Drew Lock. They wanted Drew Lock in this package. Mm-hmm. So for me, he has to be the guy. He's only 25 or something like that. He's really young. And you can look at the stats last season. I don't like to judge players coming from an old position or old situation and put them in a new situation.
Yeah,
I just think it's a tough thing to do, but you have to see, if you know empirically that Geno Smith isn't the guy by virtue that you traded for another quarterback, and then you have a quarterback heavy draft next year, according to a lot of the experts out there, you have to see what you have in Drew Lock first before you start doing your draft big board. If Drew Lock can at least show you that he can be the guy, he doesn't have to play lights out. He doesn't have to lead you to the playoffs. He just has to be decent. He has to be good. He has to at least show you there's something to build around. Then, that's why you already know that can't be Geno Smith. It just can't. So you kind of just have to start Drew Lock from the gate. I don't want to see it on this Geno starts the first couple weeks, has a 3 interception game, and now it's Drew Lock's turn to save the day. No, just start him. Let Geno tutor him, and maybe Geno can garner a trade for somewhere else. I don't know. But for me, it has to be Drew Lock for the simple fact that they traded for him. He's younger. He's on a really team-friendly deal in terms of his money. And so, and like I said, if it doesn't work out, whether they had Drew Lock or not, they were going to draft another quarterback next year. So maybe Drew Lock can show that he's decent, and then you can use that draft pick for something smarter that actually can help your team instead of a rookie quarterback that, historically is probably going to struggle there for you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we both are Jimmy Grapp fans here, rooting for Jimmy Garoppolo. Love Jimmy G. But he's stuck in limbo right now, still on the 49ers. I actually would have had no problem putting the 49ers as my best team in the NFC West because I look at their talent. The only thing that's stopping me is that they're going to roll. They've already said they're rolling with Trey Lance. And I just don't think Trey Lance is any good. I really don't. I don't see what they see. I'm not in the I don't see it. Jimmy Garoppolo has a ridiculous record when he's their starter. It's like 36 and like 15 or something like that. They're 8-27, Bert, when he's not playing as a San Francisco 49er. But yet they have these idiots and troglodytes out there saying that Jimmy G doesn't do anything for the Niners at all. How is that possible?
I'm honestly not understanding this logic. I'm not. And you paid him, you gave him this contract. He's serviceable. I get injury prone, and I get when Trey Lance stepped in, it's like, he was there, but like we said before, sample size, right? Like we can't judge Trey Lance just off of like an odd year. I mean, maybe he can come in and do the Drew Bledsoe Tom Brady thing where you step in and you just become greatness, but I certainly don't see it. And if I were San Francisco, I would roll with Jimmy G. But we have seen them fuck up quarterbacks in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Notably Alex Smith. And that was a weird situation because I mean Kaepernick, much better quarterback than Trey Lance is. But I mean, once they had that identity crisis at quarterback, it basically ruining both careers, we could argue. So I don't understand why you wouldn't roll with Jimmy. I don't understand why so early you would sit there and say we're going with Trey Lance. That to me seems really weird unless there was some sort of scuffle with front office and Jimmy and his agents or something's going on. It's all very strange to me that they would do this.
So I guess the question is, if you were a betting man, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be on this roster at the start of the season?
I mean, by default, but wouldn't he be? Right?
Yeah, like I guess the question. A lot of people are wondering, can you even have him on the roster though? Like with all of the drama, you're clearly moving on from Trey Lance. It's divided in the locker room and in the city. Apparently, I have a hard time believing. How do you?
I mean, if they cut him from the roster, it's still going to be a division that the fans are still going to revolt against, and the locker room may be still split in half of not agreeing with the front office and coaching staff that basically completely wrote away your potential and season. I mean, if I'm Debo, like what, and I'm sitting here saying like, all right, yeah, Trey Lance is going to throw to me, but I have my boy Jimmy G here, and you guys are cutting him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know what's having him be on the roster and not play, or having him just like be completely cut. To me, it's almost better to keep him on the roster, because if Trey Lance if he ends up going down and then Jimmy steps in and does what he's supposed to do, then how can management and coaching staff even make the decision where once Trey is better, he comes back and he becomes the quarterback? It just doesn't make sense to me. The whole situation doesn't make sense to me. Like we are truly living in, as you referenced before, the upside down. Like this to me is actually quite shocking all around.
Yeah, I would have said at the end of the season that there's no way that Jimmy G can be on this roster. You don't want that shadow. I mean, like I said, in the last 3 years, they went to one Super Bowl and an NFC title game. Jimmy G's a winner. So, but there's a couple things that are working against Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers here, right? He's owed $24 million on this last year of his contract. Mm-hmm. So any team trading for him is essentially getting him as a rental unless they work out some long-term deal. A lot of teams don't know what they have right now. Like they're not going to be planning for a year out in the future, and especially not hitching their wagon to Jimmy Garoppolo, who's coming off an injury. That's the second part. He has to pass a physical in order to be traded. So a lot of you idiots out there on the internet, whoa, Jimmy G is so good. Why hasn't he been traded? He's not going to pass a physical, you dumbass. That's why. And teams aren't going to trade for an injured player who's not going to pass a physical right now. They got to wait and see until he's cleared to play. Then they got to see him play, at least in preseason and or training camp. And then as players get cut or players get traded or players get hurt, Jimmy G may be in the market. But if I'm San Francisco, I'm letting Jimmy G stay. Let it be uncomfortable. Your Trey Lance has to win in big moments and pressure situations, which includes having a winning quarterback on your roster. And so, what's up, Trisha? How you doing? So you have to have a contingency, because I couldn't even name you. I don't even know Nick Mullins he still can't be there. Neither can CJ Beathard. I don't know who the backup guys are for on the 49ers roster, but it can't be them. So I would just stick with Jimmy G and just let him do the Josh McCown thing. Hey, buddy, you can stay at home. You stay at home until we need you, and just be ready. And that way, Trey Lance could be, he can play carefree, I guess you want to say. The smart thing to do, and I'm only speaking because they already said that they're starting Trey Lance, but the smart thing to do is just start Jimmy G and just be done with it and let him become a free agent and sail off into the sunset. But if he's going to be on your roster, play him. He's the better quarterback. We've seen nothing from Trey Lance that suggests that he's remotely good. And if he was that good, y'all would have traded him last year before Jimmy G got hurt. But no, you know what he did? He got y'all to the NFC title game. So he's been to two NFC title games and a Super Bowl appearance. And yet you're gonna replace him for a guy you think can get you what George Lynch was quoted as saying. I think he can get us. Who's it? George Lynch, Greg Lynch. What is it? Who's the GM there? I can't remember. Whoever Lynch.
Yeah,
somebody.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah. He said we think Trey Lance can bring us to a Super Bowl. Well, what do you mean? You got a guy who can bring you to a Super Bowl, and yet you're going to replace him with the guy
who has brought you to Super Bowl, and it didn't end up how you wanted. But boo-hoo! I mean, like, he gets you there. Not to mention he studied under Tom Brady and won 2 Super Bowls as his backup. So like, why not take the experience and guy who's absolutely serviceable as over a maybe a possibility, unless they know something we don't. I don't understand it, but we are team Jimmy G, and
Yep.
honestly, hoping for the best for him, man. Either what with San Fran, that way he can play well and just kind of get big fuck you to everybody, or if hey, you want to go somewhere else, do your thing. I'm sure someone else will take you for sure.
John Lynch.
John Lynch.
John Lynch. There we go. So yeah, NFC West is probably looking like Matt Stafford and that crew over there.
Mhm.
Freddie Freeman's a fraud, so we got that out of the way. So we did all the fun sports stuff, and so now, Bert, we're gonna play our favorite game of
overrated, underrated,
or
properly rated.
And so, as soon as I get the banner up, first one. Saw his highlights the other day. He ran a whopping 0.3 miles per hour to second base after. I said, "Man, I can't believe he's still playing baseball."
I know, dude. Me too.
So, what do you think, Albert Pujols, in general, not just this year? I'm talking about from start to now. Albert Pujols, overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
I'll give him properly rated. He's had some peaks and valleys in his career. But I mean, for someone to be playing that long and still be crushing it, for me, he's certainly properly rated. I wouldn't say he's underrated because I mean he is where he needs to be. And I absolutely would never call him overrated.
So I was leaning towards underrated, but the problem is the longer he plays, the more I'm going to think that he's overrated, because it's like he's heading towards that area where he's been bad longer than he's been good. And so that brings down your average, right? In my eyes. But yeah, I think
properly rated.
I would say he's properly rated overall. I think it's like Tiger Woods, right? Like they showed Tiger Woods highlights in this golf tournament, and they're like, whoa, look at this beautiful shot from birdie. And then you look at his score, and he's like +8. And I'm like, oh my God, guys. All right, guys. Like, okay, it's Tiger Woods. I get it. And they're doing the same thing kind of to Albert Pujols. He hasn't been any type of good for like 5 years now, and probably longer than that. And so, you know, he is properly rated, but he needs to be careful because he's starting to enter that. All right, man, like just hang up the cleats, put up the bat. Like, he's looking really out of shape.
Like you've done it.
Yeah.
We could talk Hall of Fame with him. Like just hang it up. You know, some people just love the game.
Okay, I just finished this god awful Obi-Wan Kenobi show on Disney Plus.
I'm actually just starting it. I just watched the first episode yesterday.
Much like any other Star Wars thing that's come out in the new age, it's only good when Darth Vader's in it. And I only watch this show because I also think Obi-Wan Kenobi is literally the most overrated Star Wars character of all time. I couldn't believe they gave him his own show, and I said this is going to be trash. But then they dropped the news that Hayden Christensen is reprising his role as Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker. I said, all right, cool, I'm in, because that's what Darth Vader does. And I have no idea why Disney and Star Wars and Lucasfilms refuse to just give us 2 hours of Darth Vader killing people, because every movie that's come out in this new like Star Wars era, like Rogue One,
I loved Rogue One.
I hated it. I was like, hey, spoiler alert, they die. Like I knew it was like we knew they were gonna die. We knew what the movie was about.
Everyone dies.
Everybody dies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we know it. We know it was. As soon as y'all you shouldn't have told us what the movie was about.
Here's why I liked Rogue One, though, is because even though I knew that going into it, just by basis of like the story and like what it would potentially be about, the fact that there is a true beginning and end to that fucking movie is why I like it. Because everything in the Star Wars universe, there's always like, oh well, we could do this with it. It's just like there's never a complete story. Even this new the news series that came out with Adam Driver and everything, it's like talking about the Skywalkers again. It's like, can't we just let a fucking storyline die, for Christ's sake? Like, why do we have to keep reprising it? So based off your review, I'm guessing Star Wars.
Oh yeah, let's just get mine out of the way.
Overrated.
Hell yeah. Kenobi, Mandalorian, Boba Fett. Mandalorian was interesting.
Yeah,
Boba Fett was trash. I didn't even finish it.
It was so bad. I did just because I had to. Yeah.
Like I stopped watching Kenobi. I only watched the Darth Vader parts. It's like, all right, what episodes are Vader in? That's the only ones I cared about. And those were awesome. Those were great. So I mean, listen, if you like Kenobi, you might enjoy the show. I think he's overrated, but
I'm just interested to see. I like Ewan McGregor, but I mean, the first episode yesterday exceeded my expectations because although I love The Mandalorian, even season 2, Boba Fett to me was absolute trash. Like it was just not good. Everything from acting to storyline. So, and I understand like there are a lot of people that didn't even like Mandalorian. For me, I thought it was cool because it was a new character, new story within the realm of Star Wars, which is what I like about it. But I understand, and this is weird for me to say after liking one of the shows. I'm with you. I think these shows are overrated. They are now.
Overrated.
Obi-Wan could change my mind when I finish it. I'll give an update on the show. I'm glad to do it. But I think they're trying too much to like with these fan favorite characters to make something out of nothing. At least Obi-Wan has potential because there was that period of time between when, episode 3 or 6, I don't forget how they're fucking numbered, where after the twins are born and Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader. There's that time between them and when Luke starts to get trained as a Jedi. So we all wanted to know, what has this guy done? Like, what has he been doing? And I think they tried to do the same with Boba Fett too. It's just what made him so interesting was the fact that nobody knew nothing about him. Like I'd rather not know anything about a character and not know a backstory, but it is what it is. But as of right now, I do think, even though I enjoy it, I do think the hype is overrating all of them. It is.
Yeah. It's like I said, Star Wars is a Skywalker movie, and the fact that they keep trying to make other things out of Star Wars makes it bad because it's like, we only care about the Skywalkers, man. We only care about Darth Vader
and they gotta keep making money. But the thing is, and like I am a fan, I'm not like that type of fan, and nothing against it. Everybody needs a hobby. But like for me, I can see anything they slap Star Wars on, like these true fanatics will go and buy and watch and like live and die by the lightsaber, if you will, for anything labeled Star Wars.
Yeah, those guys are losers. Okay, all right, next one. NBA. Well, I'm sorry to count. I'm not going to count your beloved NHL draft, which is tomorrow, I believe. I'm not going to count the MLB draft because simply nobody cares. So we're going to stick it to the big guns, the ones that get the airtime, the specials, the hour-long specials, the NBA and NFL drafts. Overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
I always think drafts are overrated. I do.
Overrated.
Yeah, 100%. And partly because I just don't give a shit. I don't. And like, it's different. Here's the thing. If there's a prospect that's hyped where they're going to start right away and not have to battle for a position. And for me, being a huge hockey fan, those are few and far between, maybe 1, sometimes 2 out of every draft where immediately going to go to camp, going to make a roster and going to make an impact, like the Alexis Lafreniere's for the Rangers or Connor McDavid when he came into the league, the Sidney Crosbys, the greats, when when they're that good and they're going to come in and just absolutely kill it, that's what makes it exciting. Anything else from that draft where you're looking at players that enter development who may not even make it to the NHL or the MLB or even the NBA, I'm assuming. But like for football, the past couple of drafts for me have been, who cares? Because the impact just hasn't been there. So the production, everything else, I'd much rather somebody send me I don't care if it's send me a list of everybody that's drafted. They could be so much quicker. Yeah. If honestly, we're just like, hey, you got 10 seconds, you know the drill, like go for it. To me, it's always overrated.
It's definitely
overrated.
Simple by virtue that 98% of those players are going to suck, and we give them these ridiculous comps like, this guy has the Kobe Bryant footwork. I'm like, shut the hell up.
The comparisons, yeah. The NFL does it brilliantly. The whole combine to me is just a circus. It is. Yeah. Like you've seen the reports, you know what they can do. You have their height and weight, but you're going to parade them out there for this performance so they perform for one day to up their value. Like, get off of it. You've got to be kidding me. But that's the NFL. So
all those kids in that slave auction getting ready to get CTE, just getting ready to sacrifice their bodies. You see the story with Martellus Bennett shitting on Jimmy Garoppolo and Jimmy Edelman. I forgot his damn name. Edelman was reading it on the podcast. Julian Edelman. And he's like, yeah, Jimmy G, he's a bitch, and that he took himself out of the game and made me mad. I'm like, shut up, this guy.
Damn.
Just because he doesn't want to, you just listed all the injuries you were playing through. Jimmy doesn't want that for himself. What's wrong with that? So, yeah. Next one, Bert. Salmon.
Overrated. Here's why. It's one of the most overused fish and I'd much rather like a tuna or even a swordfish, dare I say. But like for me, salmon, it's just
Well,
it's been done too many times before. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. All I'm saying is like if you go out to like a place that serves seafood and you get salmon, you don't know anything else. Like that's it to me.
salmon is the fish that you get when you grew up poor all your life and you order it when you get a little bit of money because you think that's what the rich people eat. And rich people look at salmon like we look at tuna.
Yeah.
Like you can, you know what I mean? It's like,
Oh yeah.
it's like salmon. It's like for the brokies like that,
Yeah.
but we think it's like high society. It's dry as fuck, bro. Like,
Oh yeah.
salmon, it's not good. It's not a good. I don't know why everybody thinks it's such a good fish.
Sometimes you get those little pieces of bone that stab you in the mouth, and you're like, "This is ridiculous. I paid for this fillet of fit." No, it's not happening. So for me, nice ahi tuna, maybe even a mahi tuna, or like I said, swordfish. Try to dabble in some whitefish. I'll even go bottom feeder with catfish or puppy drum or something like that. You know what?
Yeah.
Next week, all about fish.
Yeah.
Overrated.
It's absolutely overrated. Salmon is the tilapia for rich people. And so I don't enjoy it. It's not good. And so we don't have to spend too much more time on that. Justin Herbert.
I think he's underrated. I don't think a lot of people still see, and I think it's because, as you mentioned in previous segment, that he does. I mean, that he's got notable habit of not coming through in big games, but I still think there is an excellent quarterback in Justin Herbert.
Yes, his major downfall, and he's young, but he's come up really short in the big games, but he's played at a level that we haven't seen before in some of the games throughout the regular season, particularly in the middle, the beginning and the middle of the season. And I don't think people are putting him in the Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes class, but they are recognizing his skills. So for that, I will say he's
properly rated.
I don't think anybody's holding him up too high. I also don't think people are overrating him. He's great. I mean, the Chargers have a quarterback. Both LA teams are good now. Like it's just Justin Herbert and the Chargers are relevant because Justin Herbert is really good. Nothing has changed with that team when Phillip Rivers retired, other than the fact that Justin Herbert got drafted there. And Keenan Allen's still there. Austin Eckler's still there. Like they still got these players. And Justin Herbert took them from being a good team to being a great team. And so they just got to figure it out, right? He's young, and we get spoiled by the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, and now the Joe Burrows of the world. Then you kind of miss what Justin Herbert actually is, which is the trajectory of a true first round talent quarterback who struggles in his first couple years and then builds upon that. And we just get used to these guys who are skyrocketing, the Lamar Jacksons, those guys. And Lamar Jackson's kind of doing it backwards, but we'll see this year. I'll give him a break because he got injured. We'll see this year, but he has gotten progressively worse since his MVP season. So we will see about that. Last one of the day, Bert, Dr. Pepper.
Ooh, Dr. Pepper's underrated. It is
underrated.
It is delicious. And I absolutely love it. First, look, if I'm going soda, first and always is going to be, if there's a root beer, I'm getting a root beer. But if there's a Dr. Pepper there, I'm going to get that Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I'm not a big soda drinker, but I will go if Baja Blast is available, I'm grabbing the Baja Blast. And then we're going to have to do this show too. We're going to have to power rank these sodas. But then probably root beer is probably 2 or 3. And I'm old school, so I like a nice traditional cola. Care if it's Coke, I don't care if it's Pepsi, I don't care, like a nice cola.
RC cola.
I'll take an RC cola, man. That brings me back to my youth. But Dr. Pepper is in my top 5. And so for that reason, it's
properly rated.
I don't think anybody is putting it in the Pepsi category, but it's not like the trash Mountain Dew category either. You know what I mean? And I do understand the hypocrisy, because I said I love Baja Blast, and that's technically Mountain Dew, but it's not like real Mountain Dew. It's like a different thing.
It's a spicy Mountain Dew,
Yeah, it's like a nice, fruity, spicy Mountain Dew, but not a regular Mountain Dew is gross. I don't know why people drink it. It's nasty. I judge people who drink it like really bad.
As you should. I think it's appropriate to do so.
But I think Dr. Pepper gets its just due. I think it's like right there at the bottom of the tier 1 soda category. I think people do give its respect. Now, I will say the reason why I could say it's a little bit overrated because not many sodas, like the cherry sodas, right? The cherry Pepsi, cherry Coke, it's not as good as the regular one. But the cherry Dr. Pepper is way better. That's my movie theater go-to.
I don't think I've ever had a cherry Dr. Pepper.
Oh, the vanilla cherry Dr. Pepper at the movie theaters, or those Coke machines where you can make like massive permutations of soda.
Yeah.
Find one of those. Get a Bert. I'm telling you, a cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper will change your life. If you can find that, it will change.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna try to sneak in and see that new Thor movie in the theaters because that's just getting phenomenal reviews so far. So maybe I'll have to mess with that.
Yeah, hopefully. That comes out what Friday? My birthday. Yeah, Friday. So
Friday.
maybe I'll slide over there and check that one out. Bert, do you have a game ball to give out?
I have two. The San Jose Sharks just hired a new general manager, Mike Greer, the first Black general manager in NHL history. He has a phenomenal playing career, and then recently was the director of operations for the Rangers, I think was his official title, under Chris Drury, the general manager, hockey operations advisor for the Rangers, and then now moving over to be the GM of the Sharks. He's certainly in time will absolutely turn that team around, but absolutely huge for the sport of hockey, huge for Mike Greer. Game ball goes to him as number one. Number two, game ball goes to my guy Jerm for his birthday on Friday. Happy early birthday. You're gonna have an awesome day. I absolutely know it, but for everything you do for the show and the network, you deserve to have a very happy one, sir. And from one cancer to another, it's gonna be a great one, man.
It is a team effort over here, but I do appreciate the kudos, bro. You took my game ball. Mike Greer is the only one this week that I think deserves it. I mean, that's a monumental thing. I was very happy, and it continues the trend in hockey of former players that played for that franchise. We have several of them. Notable Joe Sakic for the Colorado Avalanche. Sakic, Akisak, whatever his name is.
Sakic, yeah.
Or sidekick, however if you're from Florida.
Joe Sakic is never a sidekick.
He's never a sidekick. So hopefully, it's odd. San Jose has a 3-year playoff drought, which is the longest in that franchise's history, which is kind of wild to say. So I mean, it's not like he's dealing with the Detroit Lions or the Chicago Cubs here, but either way, best of luck to him. Hopefully he can turn that franchise around. It's a good look for hockey. Love to see the inclusion of minorities in that sport. And hopefully that's a trend that continues to grow. Yeah, that was mine. So you stole it. So I'll just give mine to Baker Mayfield, man. Go out there and kill it for finally getting out of that situation. One more time, a preview of the Cleveland Browns theme song. And then we will talk to you next week. And Art Briles, still in hell.